Okay, so today we'll be talking about the actions. Okay, so in the last classes we discussed about the RDD transformations, basically the narrow transformations and the wide transformations, right? And also now the second part of the RDDs are action. So unless you take any action, nothing going to work, right? So what are the some of the actions that are available at RDD level that we can use it in our day to day? Some of them we already know. For example, collect we've been using for some time when working with RDDs. But let's see what are the different other the other actions are available, so that it's for our knowledge purpose, and also we can know when to use what. Okay, so the first one is count, right? So for example, if I wanted to know what is the count of elements in my RDD, right? So you can, once the RDD creates, you can just use rdd.count. Okay, now if you go back and let me see that. So if I want to see what are the different actions available, you can just after creating RDD, right? You can just do a mm, right. As you can see, there are so many are available. Okay, some of them are transformations and some of them are actions. Okay, now let's see that in this RTD I wanted to know what is my count, right? So I can simply use count, and then I can get the number of elements. For example, in this, if you see data one is based out of RDD 3 and data one has 6 elements, so you get the 6 elements, 6 number. Okay, similarly collect, right? Collect we've been using, right? Once the RTD creates and we collect the data from different partitions and nodes, and then that's how it's gives the output, right? So basically it's a in operation that returns our entire RDD's content to driver program. Now how that happens, the application of a collect is a unit testing where the entire RDD is expected to fit into memory. As a result, it makes easy to compare the result RDD with the expected results. Now one thing to note is had a constant that all the data should fit into the machine and copies to the driver. Okay, so now you have to be careful when you are working with the collect. So you cannot, if you, let's say, for example, you are dealing with a big, very big data set, then if you just do collect, then it's going to be bombarded. Okay, you cannot use collect on the large data sets. Why? Because it has to be fit into that memory or that machine, and then so that it can copy to the driver program, right? So when you're working with a small data like testing purpose or anything, you can do that. But there is no reason, if you're working with a billion records, there is no, it's like a select star, right? So if you have 100 records, it makes sense to use the select star. But if you have a million records, if you use the select star, it doesn't make any sense. Anyhow, you can't read all the million records at a time, right? Nobody would like to do that. Okay, so it has both advantage and disadvantages. So you need to be very careful while using the collect. Make sense? Okay, so collect we've been using for a while. So for example, if you see here, right, it's just a collect. It collects the all the data from the transformation. Sorry, and then it gives you output. Remember, this is a parallelized. The data is parallelized and it's available across the nodes and across the partitions. It's not there one place, right? So after the transformations, it collects the all the data and then gives you the output. Okay. Now the next one is take. Let's say I wanted to return only the subset of the elements, right? I want to take maybe three or top three, right? That way I can use take and top, right? What the difference between take and top is? Top is going to be ordering the data, but take will not order the data. Okay, whatever the way it's available, like it's say that if I use take, I want to use last four, right? 2, 3, 4, 5 had come because since it's already ordered, it's okay. But otherwise, whatever the way it's there, it just gives you the without ordering anything. But whereas if you do top, it just uses the default ordering and then gives you. For example, if you see 11, 9, 5, and 4, that is the order of the numbers. Okay, so that's the difference between take and top. Okay, so we have so many actions that some of them like count by value, right? So it returns many times each element occur, right? How many times each element, for example. So for example, if you see it here, return the count of each unique value in the RDD as a dictionary. You remember each unique value. So it calculates each unique value in the RDD. Okay. So for example, if you see 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, right? So it gives you 1, 2, and 2, 3. Okay. So now after count by, you can use other like items. What is item? Item is basically each element in the count by value. Okay. So now let's see that. Okay. So let's see what happens. You understand what I did? Okay, RDD. Okay, so I might need to run the cell again. Okay, I can use it here. Yeah. Okay, and then followed by, let's run this. You see, so this one is gave 1 and this one is gave, because since we do not have any duplicates, it just gave 1. But if you have a duplicate, it will give you the number. For example, let's say that I double this one. Now let me run. So what will give you 2. Okay, so this is how the count by value works. Similarly, you have a reduce, right? So you have a multiple values, and then you can take a use of reduce, and we discussed how the reduce works, right? So if you have a look, almost see this count, reduce, these are aggregation functions, right? They almost work on the same way that we discussed yesterday. Count, reduce, aggregate, group by, all these works same. Okay, and the result is going to be same, but they have different huge advantages and disadvantages of each of them. Okay, if you read through documentation, reduce the elements of RDD using specified cumulative and associated binary operator, currently reduce partition locally. Okay, so if you see, there is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and reduce, add. So what it does is it just reduce, I mean, it just grouped and then added. So if you see all these values like a 1, 2, if you add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you will get 15. Okay, it's basically a group by. You're asking a group by. Group it and take a sum, right? And then you will get the sum of the number. That's it. Okay, you can try that. Okay, so now another one, fold. It's not very much used. Okay, because the count by value already. Sorry, fold is I haven't used in my so far. Okay, so if you see, okay, so the if you see, aggregates the elements of each partition and then results for all partitions using given associated function and neutral zero value. Right, so it basically works on the partitions. Okay, when you have a bigger data set and the data being partitioned across them, this behaves somewhat differently from fold operations implemented in non-distributed collections and functional language like Scala. Right, so it has some advantages, but I haven't used. Okay, so if you, it does the same thing. If you see, if you have a collection and just use fold and add, you got the 15. So it's another aggregating function. Okay, but it works across as per document, aggregate the element of each partition and then the results for all the partitions. All right. So it's kind of an another optimized version of the existing ones. Okay. So that's about fold and aggregate. Again, you know it very well. And for each, okay, so for each we discussed, for example, in this lambda function, you can see for each of, right, once the map, for example, in this case, map been created, right? So now how do we read that? For each of x, you can, for each for items in the, it's kind of a loop, right? For items in the loop, for items in the text, you can print the number of items, right? Similarly, that's the for loop, you can, for each will do. Okay. Applies a function to all elements of the RTD. That's it, as simple as that, right? For example, if you see, there is a function defined and it just prints the text. Now once and for each of f, that's it. So what happened in the for each of f, you will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It basically applies the for each of that element. Got it? So this is a benefit of for each. Okay, so you can try over that. With that, I think we are done with actions. Okay, so before I move into next, any questions on narrow transformations, wide transformation, and actions? All good, all good. It's easy, difficult, or anything? Any questions? Okay, silence makes good. All right. So now, so far, we've been we discussed about data frames and their transformations, and also we discussed about creating RDDs and uh, um, their transformation, their and actions. Right now, let's say I wanted to. Uh, is my screen visible? No.
No, sir.
So now let's say that I think somebody has asked in the also, right? So I wanted to convert this to a data frame, right? So how do I convert this to a data frame, right? Once RDD has created, then you can convert back to data frame, right? And then you can work on the data frame with along with other data frames, and you can work on with the data frame transformations. Okay, so how to do that? So if you remember, think uh, there is an option called 2df. Anybody remembers? Mm, Venkat, anybody remembers of how to convert this one? There is an option.
No, no idea, sir.
Okay, so I'll come back. So we can convert back to the RDD to a data frame, and you can work on the data frame. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, 1 second. Okay, so I will discuss at the last. Okay, I will maybe I will get that number. Okay, so now so far if you see either we were inputting the data right like this, right, some smaller data like this, or we also discussed about how to create a from a CSV file, right? For example, in this case, if you see employee data CSV, we use this one, right? CSV or JSON files, what are the files we know that. Now, what if I wanted to get the data from my table, my SQL database table? I have already, I have already there in my data, right? The data is available in my SQL database, right? For example, let's say that you are getting a sales data. Okay, now you're comparing whether the what are the sales happen, whether the price is according to the uh, uh, you want to compare the price. Let me give an- right? So the sales data you have order ID, right? Product, right? That been sold and the price, and then quantity, right? All these information you have. Now you got this from a data source, that's right. You got this from a source one. Okay, now let's say that you also got the same thing from source two, right? And so on and so forth. You get the multiple sources and you do it. Now let's say that you have a this product pricing, right? So these guys have sold this is uh, Europe and this is from US. Okay, so now the price obviously is getting a different. These guys have sold according to their local price, and these guys have sold according to their local price. Now you want to compare this price and ensure that the price is not deviating from. You also have a master data where you have your managing products and their prices, which is available in your MDM system. Did you guys understand what is MDM? Basically master data management. So now they also have prices. Now the ask is you want to compare these prices with these already existing MDM prices. You need to calculate the deviation, if at all anything. For example, let's
Sir,
say,
your voice is not clear, sir.
is it okay?
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay. See, I'm using my headset and it sometimes it's gives some problem. Okay, but you can good that you remembered me. Otherwise, I don't know whether my voice is clear to you guys or not. You had to respond. Okay, but never
Okay.
the yeah. So now the ask is to compare these prices with this already existing in MDM prices. Now, what are the two options available? Someone has to manually pull all the products and prices from MDM and send you as another source, right? As a CSV file to you, so that you can compare this one. Or what you can do instead of that, you can connect directly to this SQL database, right? Instead of that, you can directly connect to the SQL database, and then you can work directly in the notebook. That there is not is there is a, no required that explicitly someone has to pull the data and export as a CSV and send to you. Rather, you connect to the SQL database and directly access these prices, and then you do whatever you want. Make sense? That's the way you have to connect to the multiple sources. It's not like always somebody will send you either a CSV or JSON file to you to do that. Right? You might have to connect to SQL database, or you might have to connect to some other databases like MongoDB or Cassandra, any kind of thing, and then you can pull the data which is already available from there, and then you can use it for your further analysis, right? So in this situation what happens is, how to do this one, but you need to connect to work with SQL database also, right? So now we are going to discuss how to connect to SQL database and create a pull the data directly to our notebook, right? So we need that SQL database data has to come out our here, right? Then only I can able to work. So for that, let me create a new workbook. Okay, so now if you remember, if you're part of the Azure Data Factory, okay, we created a SQL database, right? So let me use that. Okay, so this is my SQL database. Let me go to query preview. Okay, and you can see the different tables we have created: car demo and all, employees and all. All right, so these are the tables we created in my SQL as part of my SQL database, which is good. So now let me go back. Now if you see it here, show database connection strings, right? So now we have created a database, we have created a server, and we have created a database. Now this database has to be accessed by multiple uh, um, ways. That is not always somebody go to query and query here only, right? To query it here, nothing required. But what if this database can be accessed from any other service outside? That is where these connection strings will help you. Okay, so now let's go back to the connection strings. You can see if somebody wants to connect ADO.NET, these are the connection strings. If somebody wants to connect from JDBC, this is uh, the connection string. Some will connect to ODBC, this is the connection string. Right? If you want to connect from PHP application, this is what you need to use. You want to connect from Go language, this is what you need to do, establish connection. Okay, so now we want to use the JDBC. Okay, so let's copy this.
Sir, what is this JDBC? I didn't understand. Can you elaborate that?
JDBC is basically Java database connectivity. ODBC basically open database connectivity.
Okay, sir. So
Yeah,
if we want to connect to database, we need to use JDBC. Huh?
correct. So you can use any of these JDBC, ODBC, any of them work. But there are some uh, particular drivers you need to use. Anywhere you should see a JDBC and ODBC are common. These two are common. Okay, and apart from that, you have others as well. Let's say you are PHP. You understand, right? PHP, there is a language, right? So let's say that you have an application on PHP. You want to connect this Azure SQL database from PHP. You need to follow this.
Got
Right?
it, sir.
There is
Like,
another language called Go language, right? If you have a application written in Go language and you want to connect from Go language, you can do this. And Azure Data Open like Active Directory, if you want to connect, you can use these things.
so based on the protocols, we need to.
Absolutely, you can decide, yeah, right. But these two are the common across. Okay, you wherever you go, you will get JDBC, ODBC.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so now we will be using that JDBC connection. Okay, so what I will do is I will declare create a variable, and then I will just copy paste whatever I got it from there. Right, this is what I got it from my JDBC. Okay, now you can see it here. So all the details are available. Nothing to worry. All you need to do is the password. You need to uh, replace it over here. Okay, so let me give my password. All right. So now let me execute this one. Okay, so now my connection string is available. Okay, so uh, now when you work in a real time, right? So as part of enterprise best practice and all, if you do it a password like if you hard code like this, anybody can see this, right? So you cannot use like passwords and all like in a open format. Okay, so let's say that you have your passwords are there in key vault. Okay, you have to access key vault. So how do you do that? So let's say that the database password there in key vault and you want to access key vault over here. How do you do that?
You will need to just type the keyword.
How do you do that? Your key vault is in Azure, Microsoft Azure, and you want to access from Databricks. I think we discussed about secret scopes, right? If you guys remember,
Yes, sir.
right? So use that. Okay, not DB. Right, under the DB util there is a secret scope, right? Use the secret scope and you can get that using the get method. You can get that password. Okay, so for that, what you need to do, you need to define another variable and use the DB util secret scope, right? Whatever it may be, uh, and then use the get method and assign that to them and use that this password over here. You cannot hard code it over like this. Okay, so it's very important, guys. Okay, so now I created a connection string. So now what I need to do, I need to create a data frame by reading from uh, database, right? So I have so many tables in my database, so I need to um, uh, create a data frame. And that's what my objective is, right? So how do I access this one? How do I access the tables data in Azure Databricks, right? Through creating a data frame only, right? That is the only way. Why I need to create data frame? Because the table data is structured. Sorry, the table data is structured and it has rows and columns, right? For example, if you see, right, it has rows and columns, right? So what is the best option to do work with rows and columns? Creating data frame. Okay, so now my objective is to create a data frame. So now how do we create a data frame? We discussed, right? So let me take an example. Right, we discussed a data frame to create multiple ways, right? One of them way could is right. One of the is just read JDBC Spark and dot read, right? Now let's go to read what is the Spark read. Okay, so Spark read, we discussed about CSV, how to read the file and create a data frame out of CSV, right? We discussed about see, now I'm coming to JDBC. Okay, so we discussed about JSON also. If you see JSON, we discussed. Now there is another way of creating a JDBC, right? Which is what we are doing it here. So we are using the JDBC connectivity. Okay, so it also gives you a create a data frame using the JDBC option. Okay, so now if you see, it accepts a table name, right, which is a name of the table as a string, and that is required. Column names, if you want to particular about any column, you can mention, otherwise this is an optional. Okay. Now let's see that. Okay, so there is no example available, right? Okay, so now that's it. Only it accepts the parameters and you can do that. Okay, so now let's do the same thing over here. So I want to create a data frame, spark dot read dot JDBC. See, this is the way you need to pass the values. One is that URL as a string, right? So nothing but this is what the URL. Okay, we as a string and then table name. Column names, it's an optional. Okay, if you want to particular about any column, you can give, otherwise not required. So now what I will do, I will create JDBC, now connect string as a URL, right? So since I already put it into variable, let's directly use that variable. Okay, now I need to pass the table name, right? So what table name I have, let's say I wanted to access the cars demo. Okay, so if you see, it's a schema name dot table name. Okay, it's always best practice to give schema name dot table name. Okay, and let's remove this brackets. Okay, now let's run this. It takes a while because it has to connect to the database and get the it's definitely slower than a CSV or any other file. Okay, now if you see, when you do the first time, you will get this error. That means that IP address that we this the Databricks IP address we need to whitelist. Okay, so how to whitelist we already discussed. Okay, if you go to here and overview. Okay, so there is a set firewall. Now you need to add that over here. Okay, so let me add it. Okay, now let's rerun. You see, the table data, whatever you have it over here, is all got it over here. Fuel type, aspiration, number of doors, right? Fuel type, aspiration, number of nothing, no schema, nothing. You can schema and everything automatic. And you can see that. And if you see even more better, if you want to see, see, it's like a table. It's like you are working in a SQL, like the same experience. Right. So here also you have this one, and you got the same thing over here. Okay. So this is the way you will get the connectivity to Databricks from the external database sources. Now this could be anything. This could be your cloud SQL database, or there may be cases like, let's say that um, this is there in the Oracle database, on-prem Oracle database. So how do you connect on-prem Oracle database? Similar, same thing. You ask them, okay, give me the JDBC connectivity. They will give you the JDBC connectivity, and you will pass the username and password. That's it, and then you can connect to the database. See, for any database to connect, you need three things. One is the connection, the connectivity, JDBC driver, and the URL. Second thing is username and password. These are the only three things are required, right? So ask them to send those things, and accordingly you can establish the connection, and you can access those tables. Got it, guys?
Yes, sir.
So now this is one way, right? So let me list it out. So we discussed about CSV, we discussed about JSON, right? And other Parquet and all you guys tried, right? And also we discussed about how to create from SQL DB. Okay. And we discussed about manually entering, manually creating data, right? There is another option is available. Can somebody guess? So these are the ways you will get the data. Or is there any other ways to get data? Okay, so let me tell that. Excel. What if somebody sends you an Excel file to you? Because you cannot use Excel in CSV option. CSV is different, Excel is different. What somebody sends you an Excel file to you, hey, this is what, okay, now let's take the same example. He said that, okay, since it's a smaller organization, he said that, okay, I have a product prices in my Excel. I will send you that Excel to you. You can compare. How to do that? How do you export Excel? How, right? How do you deal with the, I mean, how do you create a data frame out of an Excel? Okay, so that's our next topic we're going to discuss. We're working with Excel. So now Excel requires some additional configuration to be added. It's not a straightforward as a CSV or any other. Okay, so now if you remember, every cluster had a certain libraries. Okay, so if I go here, uh, let me go back. Right, so this is my cluster. Right, so let me open my cluster. Right, so the configuration, which is when we set up a cluster, you have all the configuration by default. Okay, so even if you want to access this cluster outside, if you remember, Sunita, you asked the right question, the JDBC connection, right? So if you want to access this cluster outside of Databricks, you can use this JDBC ODBC connectivity, and you can send them to them. Okay, so now if you see, there is a called libraries. Right now, nothing is available in my libraries. There is no external libraries available. Okay, so now what is libraries? So when you work with the Databricks, there are so many libraries already by default. Databricks will provide you. Okay, but at certain cases you have to when you work with different aspects of project, you have to deal with some third-party libraries as well. Okay, that you cannot avoid. It's not always you rely on Databricks. Some cases the third-party libraries you need to install, and you need to work on that. Okay, and that is a you can do it as a freely. You need not do anything. Okay, so now what I need to do, I need to install two libraries to work with Excel. One is com dot crealytics, this one, and then one is this package I need to install. Okay, the same thing. If you're working with the Python, you day in day out you'll be installing so many packages and all, right? The similar stuff over here. Okay, so these two has to be installed. Okay, so now let's go. Let's follow that instructions. Install new, and then go to libraries, install new, and select Maven. Okay, selected Maven, and then in coordinates, I need to use this one. All right, let's copy this one. Okay, so in coordinates, I'm just copy pasting this. Okay, and then install. That's it. Okay, it takes a while, but it it got installed. Okay, now the second one is what the same thing is libraries install new PyPI, right? So libraries install new. This time I need to select this one and then give package as XLRD, right? So XLRD, that's it. Okay, so while this installs, I need an Excel file, right? So what I will do is I will take this comma separate file. Okay, so let me delete this Excel. right? This is a comma separate file. I will save it as, okay, save it as Excel. You can see somewhere Excel workbook. Okay, so let's do that. So it's already existing, just replace it. Okay, so now I have Excel workbook. Okay, so now what I need to do, so this is got installed. Okay, so now what I need to do, what I need to do. So this Excel I need to upload to my DBFS, right? Okay, so go to data, get DBFS, upload. This is one. Okay, this is the one. Now you can see XLS, this is XLSX, okay, which is good. Okay, so now copy this path, copy. Okay, so now what I will do, I will go to my workspace, SQL DB, where is that? SQL connection, right? So I'm in SQL connection. Okay, so this is my SQL DB. Okay. Hmm. Okay, so now come over here and just follow this as it is. Okay, I'm creating a data frame. Right, this is my syntax. Okay, so this is format com dot create. This is the from this is as is option header true. So since if you have a headers, make it true. Otherwise, remove this option. Infer schema true. Data address is name of your Excel sheet. What is your name of your Excel sheet? Let me, okay. Name of Excel sheet is, this is my sheet name. Okay. And then file path. Okay, so where is my file exist? DBFS, file store, right? As you can see, this was the one we loaded, right? So let's copy that file path again. And remove this DBFS. Make sense? Okay, so now okay. What happened? 1 second. Guys, 1 second. Huh? I think some copy paste issue. Okay. This one, this one. Unexpected character. What is the difference between that and this one? Nothing, right? It's just a copy paste issue. Okay. So now you can see from Excel also, you were able to create a data frame. Got it? Our data frame got created. Okay, so you need to be careful while copy pasting this syntax. Okay, there is something wrong when I copied from here, but yeah, that's okay. All right, guys, anything? Okay, so with this, we are done with the uh, um, using Python, right? Using PySpark, using PySpark, sorry, using Python, how to interact with Spark, we are done. That is called PySpark, right? So now let's say that you are good at SQL. Okay, you're very good at SQL. You want to do all these transformations in the SQL as well. So you can see that, right? So far we've been using the Python as default, right? So there is another option called SQL as well. You can work with SQL also. You can create a data frames using SQL. You can create transformations using SQL. Okay. So now for tomorrow onwards, we'll be working with SQL. Okay. Now, and after discussing this, and we'll tell how to switch back to Python. So within the notebook, how to switch back to Python and how to use SQL, right? All this stuff we will be discussing in our further classes. Okay. Is too much or anything? Any questions? Is becoming too much?
No, sir.
Yeah. So you see, once you understand, everything is a cakewalk, right? The only barrier is entry. Once you enter, you know how to do that. And these are not such a rocket science that you will not able to understand, or you need a complicated algorithms. Okay. Okay. Let's regroup again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks.
Sir,
Bye.
can you share that links to like to download the to connect the Excel? You used some kind of syntax and to connect the.
Correct. Yeah, it's there. It will be there in the video, and I will share across with you also. No worries.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. See you tomorrow.
Okay, sir.